The internet stopped breathing at the exact same moment the words leaked out. Not whispered, not hinted, dropped, hard, devastating medical results. Tamar Braxton. And suddenly nothing else mattered. Phones lit up like emergency alerts. Group chats went silent. Fans who have followed her for decades felt their stomachs sink as a single, terrifying question ripped across social media in real time. Is Tamar okay? According to explosive chatter now spreading faster than anyone can contain it, Tamar didn't just receive bad news. She allegedly received the kind of medical update that changes everything. The kind doctors don't soften. The kind that leaves rooms quiet and eyes locked on the floor. And when word got out that Tamar reportedly broke down moments after hearing it, the timeline erupted into chaos. Clips began resurfacing. Old interviews suddenly sounded like warnings. Emotional moments fans, once dismissed as stress, now felt chillingly prophetic. Insiders claim Tamar tried to keep it together. She didn't scream. She didn't lash out. She reportedly froze. And that silence was louder than any meltdown. Allegedly, someone close to the situation described it as watching someone realize their life just split into before and after. That description alone sent shockwaves through her fanbase. Within minutes, celebrity reactions began pouring in cryptic prayers, heart emojis, vague messages about strength and faith that only made people more afraid. Fans demanded answers. Blogs refreshed every 30 seconds. And just when the internet thought it couldn't get heavier, one anonymous post claimed the full truth hadn't even surfaced yet. Because what Tamar was told behind closed doors was allegedly worse than anyone imagined. The moment Tamar Braxton allegedly walked out of that doctor's office, something was visibly wrong. Not the kind of wrong you can brush off with a smile or a joke. According to sources close to the situation, her face had gone pale, her hands were shaking, and she didn't say a single word for several minutes. No phone call, no text, just silence. And for someone as expressive, as vocal, as emotionally transparent as Tamar, that silence was terrifying. Because Tamar doesn't shut down unless something has completely knocked the air out of her. Insiders claim the appointment was supposed to be routine, a follow-up. A just-to-be-safe situation, nothing alarming on the surface. But somewhere between the tests and the results, the tone in the room allegedly shifted. Doctors reportedly stopped using general language and started getting very specific, very careful. And that's when Tamar allegedly realized this wasn't a conversation about temporary issues. This was about long-term consequences, life-altering possibilities. The kind of news that forces you to mentally rearrange your future in seconds. Word of Tamar's reaction spread fast. Too fast. Someone in the building allegedly texted someone else. That message was forwarded, screenshotted, and suddenly whispers hit the internet before Tamar even made it home. Fans noticed immediately when she went dark on social media. No posts, no stories, no quick clapbacks, nothing. That alone sent alarm bells ringing because Tamar is never offline without a reason. And when the first anonymous account claimed she had broken down completely, after receiving the results, the internet exploded. Old footage began resurfacing instantly. Clips of Tamar talking about her health struggles in the past were replayed with new urgency. Fans dissected every word, every pause, every moment where she hinted at exhaustion, pain, or feeling overwhelmed in recent months. People began connecting dots that suddenly felt impossible to ignore. Missed appearances, canceled plans, emotional moments that once seemed unrelated now felt like warnings hiding in plain sight. According to alleged insiders, the breakdown didn't happen in public. It happened in private, behind closed doors, a place where cameras weren't rolling and strength wasn't required. Sources claim Tamar cried hard, the kind of cry that comes from fear, not frustration. One person allegedly described it as pure shock mixed with disbelief, saying Tamar kept repeating the same question over and over again. "Are you sure?" That detail alone shattered fans. Because denial is often the first response when reality feels too heavy to carry. Then came the alleged phone calls, not to friends, not to colleagues, to family. Sources claim Tamar Braxton was one of the first people Tamar reached out to, and that call was not calm. Voices were raised, tears were flowing, and the word serious kept coming up. Whatever the doctors told her, it wasn't something she felt comfortable handling alone. And when Tamar needs her family, it's because the situation has crossed into dangerous emotional territory. Social media chaos followed immediately. Hashtags started trending without confirmation. Fans argued in comment sections about what could be happening. Some begged people to stop speculating. Others demanded answers, convinced secrecy meant the worst. Blogs fueled the fire with vague headlines and ominous language. Health scare. Devastating results. Doctors concerned. Each one more alarming than the last. And still, Tamar said nothing. Celebrity reactions only added to the panic. A few well-known figures posted cryptic messages about prayer, strength, and standing with family during hard moments. No names were mentioned, but the timing was impossible to ignore. Fans flooded those comments asking if the messages were about Tamar. No one responded. That silence felt intentional, and intention always suggests seriousness. Then the alleged leaks began. Screenshots claiming to be from someone in Tamar's inner circle circulated online. Messages describing her as not okay, completely shaken, and trying to process what this means. Whether real or fake didn't matter anymore. The damage was done. The narrative was forming, and it was heavy. People began speculating about everything from her career to her future, and that's when the tone shifted from concern to fear. According to gossip accounts, Tamar had been experiencing symptoms she brushed off for months. Fatigue, pain, emotional swings, things she chalked up to stress, work, and life. Insiders claim doctors now believe those signs were pointing to something much deeper, something that couldn't be ignored anymore. And allegedly, that realization hit Tamar harder than the diagnosis itself, because it meant the signs were there all along. As night fell, Tamar finally posted a single message. Just one line, no explanation, no details, just a vague statement about needing time and privacy. Fans clung to it like a lifeline, but the wording only raised more questions. Why now? Why so vague? Why no reassurance? The comments filled instantly with prayers, fear, and demands for answers. And then, just as quickly, the post was deleted. That deletion sent the internet into full meltdown mode. People assumed the worst. Blogs updated their headlines within minutes. Reaction videos flooded YouTube. Everyone had a theory. Everyone had an opinion. But no one had confirmation. And that uncertainty was brutal, because uncertainty is where fear thrives. According to one particularly chilling rumor, the doctors warned Tamar that stress could make everything worse, that she needed to slow down, step back, reevaluate. For someone whose identity is deeply tied to her voice, her work, and her presence, that suggestion alone felt like a threat. Sources claim Tamar allegedly said, "I don't know how to stop." That sentence broke hearts across the internet when it surfaced. The emotional toll reportedly didn't stop with Tamar. Her family was said to be deeply shaken. Plans were paused. Conversations were cut short. Everyone was suddenly operating in crisis mode. And yet there was still no official word. No diagnosis. No clarification. Just silence wrapped in fear and speculation. And just when fans thought they'd reached the peak of the anxiety, one anonymous insider dropped a statement that changed the tone of everything. They claimed the doctors didn't just give Tamar information. They gave her a warning, a timeline, a choice that could impact everything from her health to her career to her life as she knows it. The post ended with a sentence that froze the timeline completely. She has to decide what matters more before it's too late. And with that, the story crossed a line no one was ready for. By the next morning, the situation had spiraled far beyond concern. It had turned into a full-blown panic. Fans weren't just refreshing blogs anymore, they were watching Tamar Braxton's every digital move like it was a heartbeat monitor. And the most alarming thing wasn't what she said. It was what she didn't. No updates, no reassurance, no trademark humor, nothing. For someone who usually speaks through everything, the silence felt like confirmation that whatever the doctors said had shaken her to her core. According to alleged insiders, Tamar didn't sleep that night. Not even a little. She reportedly paced, cried, sat in silence, then cried again. One source claimed she kept replaying the doctor's words over and over in her head, stuck on a single phrase that she couldn't get past. The phrase itself wasn't shared, but the reaction to it was. They said it was the moment Tamar stopped asking questions and started staring at the wall. That's when fear replaced confusion. That's when reality settled in. Behind the scenes, things allegedly got tense fast. Family members were said to be divided on what Tamar should do next. Some pushed for rest and privacy. Others urged her to be transparent before the narrative ran away from her completely. Voices were raised. Emotions flared. This wasn't just about health anymore, it was about control. Control over the story. Control over her life. Control over what the world would think if the truth came out slowly instead of all at once. Then came the alleged leak that sent everything into overdrive. A short audio clip surfaced on a private forum before making its way to Twitter. The clip was grainy, clearly recorded in a hurry, and featured a voice that sounded like Tamar's breaking mid-sentence. She didn't say what was wrong. She didn't need to. The fear in her voice did all the talking. People argued over its authenticity, but fans who have followed Tamar for years swore they recognized her tone instantly. The clip spread like wildfire before being wiped from multiple platforms. Too late. Screenshots and uploads were everywhere. Social media exploded. Hashtags trended worldwide. Some fans begged people to stop sharing the clip, calling it invasive and cruel. Others argued that the leak proved how serious the situation really was. Influencers jumped in with reaction videos, some tearful, some speculative, all feeding the frenzy. Doctors on TikTok tried to calm people down without saying anything specific, but their general warnings only made viewers more anxious. Every vague explanation felt like a hidden clue. Celebrity reactions intensified the chaos. A longtime friend of the Braxton family posted a prayer emoji followed by the words, "Please cover her," then turned comments off. Another celebrity posted, "Life can change in one appointment," and refused to elaborate. Fans connected the dots instantly. Silence became language. Vagueness became confirmation. And suddenly, the conversation shifted from what happened to how bad is it really. According to rumor, Tamar attempted to do damage control privately. She allegedly reached out to a few trusted people, asking them not to say anything publicly yet. But once something like this hits the internet, control becomes an illusion. Someone always talks. Someone always leaks. And that's when a second alleged insider stepped forward claiming the medical results weren't just serious, they were unexpected. Something Tamar wasn't mentally prepared for. Something that explained months of discomfort she'd been trying to ignore. Fans immediately began combing through old footage again. This time, they weren't just looking for emotional clues. They were analyzing physical ones. Moments where Tamar looked tired. Clips where she mentioned pain in passing. Times she joked about pushing through exhaustion. Everything was reframed. Everything felt heavier. What once looked like resilience now looked like warning signs no one wanted to acknowledge at the time. Then came the confrontation. According to gossip accounts, someone close to Tamar allegedly confronted a person they believed leaked the audio clip. Voices were raised. Accusations flew. Trust was shattered. The argument reportedly ended with Tamar breaking down again, overwhelmed not just by her health, but by the realization that her most vulnerable moment had become public consumption. One source described it as watching someone lose faith in the people around them. That detail hit hard. Because betrayal hurts deeper when you're already scared. Meanwhile, the blogs kept pushing. Headlines grew darker. Language grew more alarming. Health crisis. Devastating news. Time running out. None of it confirmed, all of it terrifying. Fans flooded Tamar's pages with prayers and questions, but also with pressure. "Please tell us you're okay. Just say something. We're scared." That kind of attention can feel supportive, but in moments like this, it can also feel suffocating. According to alleged insiders, Tamar considered going live to shut everything down. She reportedly held her phone for several minutes, opened the app, then closed it without saying a word. That hesitation spoke volumes. People close to her claim she wasn't ready to lie, but she also wasn't ready to tell the truth. And being stuck between those two options was tearing her apart. Then, late that evening, another cryptic message appeared on her page. This time it was even shorter than the last. A simple acknowledgement. A thank you, no reassurance, no explanation, just gratitude. Fans didn't know whether to feel comforted or more afraid. Because when someone thanks you without clarifying the danger, it feels like a goodbye, even if it is. The most unsettling rumor of all dropped shortly after midnight. An anonymous account claimed the doctors had discussed next steps with Tamar. Not just treatment, but lifestyle changes that could impact her ability to perform, tour, or even speak publicly for extended periods. Nothing confirmed, nothing detailed, but the implication alone sent shockwaves through her fanbase. For Tamar, her voice isn't just a talent, it's her identity, the thought of anything threatening that felt unbearable. As speculation reached a fever pitch, one final alleged insider statement cut through the noise. They claimed Tamar hadn't broken down because she was afraid of illness. She broke down because she was afraid of loss. Loss of control. Loss of normalcy. Loss of the future she thought she still had time to live. The post ended with a chilling line that stopped the scrolling dead. She wasn't crying because of what they found. She was crying because of what they told her she might have to give up. And just like that, the fear shifted into something deeper. The realization that the hardest part might still be ahead. By the time the third day hit, the tone around Tamar Braxton shifted from panic to something darker. Acceptance wasn't the right word. Neither was calm. It felt more like the collective holding of breath before impact. According to insiders, Tamar had stopped crying, not because she felt better, but because she'd cried herself empty. That kind of emotional shutdown is what truly scared the people closest to her, because Tamar is known for feeling everything out loud. When she goes quiet, it means she's bracing for something heavy. Sources claim the doctors followed up with her again, clarifying details they hadn't wanted to overwhelm her with during the first appointment. And allegedly, that second conversation hit even harder than the first. Not because the news changed, but because the reality of it settled in. This wasn't just about getting through a scare. This was about restructuring her life around uncertainty, around limits, around the possibility that pushing through, the way she always had, might no longer be an option. Behind the scenes, tensions allegedly boiled over. A heated conversation reportedly erupted between Tamar and someone in her inner circle who pushed her to stay strong publicly. According to rumor, Tamar snapped, not in anger, but in exhaustion. She allegedly said she was tired of being strong, tired of turning pain into performance, tired of pretending resilience didn't cost her something every single time. That moment reportedly left the room silent. Because it exposed something fans rarely see, Tamar not fighting, not performing, not pushing back, just depleted. Meanwhile, social media reached peak frenzy. Twitter Spaces ran for hours, people debating whether Tamar owed the public transparency or privacy. TikTok creators speculated wildly, some crossing lines, others begging for compassion. Reaction videos piled up faster than anyone could watch them. Some fans accused blogs of exploiting her vulnerability. Others blamed the leaks. Everyone blamed someone. And through it all, Tamar remained mostly silent, watching her most painful moment turn into public discourse. Celebrity reactions continued to trickle in, but they changed in tone. Less vague encouragement, more urgency. One public figure posted about choosing life over pressure. Another wrote, "Your body will always collect the debt you ignore." Those messages felt pointed, intentional. Fans read between every line. And once again, no one clarified anything. The absence of clarification became its own answer. According to alleged insiders, Tamar had a private meltdown later that night. Not a screaming one, a collapsing one. The kind where your knees give out because your mind finally accepts what your heart's been resisting. Sources say she questioned everything: her schedule, her commitments, her past choices. She allegedly kept saying she thought she had more time. That sentence wrecked people who heard it, because time is the one thing success can't buy back. Then came the decision that reportedly split opinions even further. Tamar allegedly recorded a message, not for social media, but for herself. A voice memo. In it, she supposedly spoke honestly about fear, anger, regret, and hope. Not polished, not inspirational, just raw. According to someone who claims to have heard part of it, Tamar said she didn't want to be remembered for powering through pain anymore. She wanted to be remembered for choosing herself. That sentiment hit fans like a punch to the chest when it leaked as a paraphrased quote. Speculation immediately exploded. Was Tamar stepping back? Was she preparing fans for a hiatus? Was this the beginning of a goodbye or just a pause? Blogs ran wild with theories. Some claimed upcoming appearances were quietly being reconsidered. Others said projects were being evaluated. That vague industry language only added to the dread. Because when people start evaluating, it usually means something has fundamentally changed. The emotional core of the story shifted again when fans began sharing personal stories in Tamar's comments. Survivors, caregivers, people who recognized themselves in her silence. The comment sections turned into group therapy, and that, according to insiders, affected Tamar deeply. She allegedly spent hours reading them, crying again, but this time from connection, not shock. It reminded her she wasn't alone, even if the road ahead was unclear. But just as the tone softened, one last alleged leak reignited fear. An anonymous account claimed Tamar had been presented with a choice, not a deadline, not an ultimatum, but a crossroads. Continue life as usual and risk worsening the situation, or slow down dramatically and accept that everything wouldn't look the same anymore. The account didn't specify details. It didn't need to. The implication was enough. Fans panicked all over again. Then finally, Tamar spoke, not in an interview, not in a live rant, but in a carefully chosen, emotionally restrained post. She didn't name conditions. She didn't explain results. She didn't feed the speculation. Instead, she acknowledged fear. She acknowledged uncertainty. And she acknowledged that she was listening to her body in a way she never had before. That alone confirmed what many had already suspected. This wasn't a small scare. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Support poured in. Apologies poured in. Even critics went quiet. Because when someone stops performing strength and starts admitting vulnerability, it changes the conversation. Tamar didn't sound defeated, but she didn't sound invincible either. She sounded human, and that scared people more than drama ever could. According to those close to her, Tamar is now taking things day by day. No big announcements, no dramatic exits, just choices made carefully, slowly, with intention. But insiders warn that the hardest part isn't the diagnosis or the decisions. It's learning how to live without pushing past pain just to prove you can. That lesson doesn't come easy to someone who's spent their life surviving by sheer force of will. As the internet continues to speculate, one thing is clear. This story was never just about medical results. It was about a breaking point, a moment where strength stopped being enough, where vulnerability took over, and where a woman who's given the world her voice is being forced to listen to her body louder than ever before. And the most haunting part of all, according to someone close to Tamar, she didn't say she was afraid of what might happen. She said she was afraid of going back to the way things were and ignoring the warning this time. That single admission changed everything. If you're still here right now, don't scroll away, because this is one of those moments where looking away means missing something that actually matters. This isn't just celebrity news. This is a real-time reminder of how fast life can shift, how silence can say more than headlines, and how strength isn't always about pushing through. Tamar Braxton's situation has forced a conversation that's bigger than gossip, bigger than blogs, and bigger than one name trending on your timeline. And here's the truth. Stories like this don't stay visible unless people engage with them. The internet moves on fast. Compassion gets buried. Context disappears. If this breakdown made you pause, feel something, or rethink how we consume moments like this, hit that like button right now so this doesn't get swallowed by the next distraction. Engagement keeps the conversation human. Drop a comment, not speculation, but support, perspective, or even your own experience. Tamar's comment section has already become a place where people are finding each other in fear, strength, and honesty. Your voice matters more than you think, and sometimes the comments say what the headlines can't. And most importantly, subscribe and turn notifications on. Not because of drama, but because updates like this don't come on a schedule. When Tamar speaks again, when clarity replaces speculation, or when the story takes another turn, you don't want to hear it secondhand, twisted, or stripped of empathy. Stay locked in, stay aware, and don't underestimate the power of paying attention, because moments like this are about more than clicks. They're about people.